Good morning. This is the Reading Instruction Show. I am your host, Dr. Andy Johnson, and we have a guest in studio, not really a studio, Patty McGee, and we're going to talk about grammar instruction today. So, welcome, Patty McGee.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you.
So, grammar instruction. How in the heck do we teach grammar and why is it important?
Well, how about we start with why it's important? Um, if so, we know that writing has power. We know that it has the power to persuade and the power to teach and the power to share stories and record those stories for future generations for just pure enjoyment and for self-expression. And we know it changes things. It can
Writing is
change the way,
important. Yes,
yep,
absolutely.
yep. And so for all of those reasons, when we think about grammar, grammar is to writing as a paintbrush is to a painter. That if you're an artist, you are constantly thinking about how to use different brush strokes and brush sizes and techniques in order to create the painting that you most want to create. And it's the same with grammar. When we use grammar as a tool to create meaning and think about it as style, um, they're intertwined. And so must be grammar must be taught in order for writing to be as
It,
powerful as it can be.
it must be taught.
Hmm.
So, can you write without knowing what a dangling participle is? Therein lies
So,
the question.
yes, you absolutely can. And in fact, I don't believe that you need to learn how to identify grammar or parts of speech or sentences prior to being able to use them. As the littlest ones that start writing, even in their own sketches, when they're so little, they're using nouns and they don't call them nouns, but they can use them. And so the reason we'd want to know the wording of grammar is to talk about our style or our expression and how we can use it better. And so for words like, let's say, an infinitive, we're not really going to say to a student or hear from someone giving us feedback on our writing, I think you need more infinitives. And
What's
so that
what's an infinitive?
uh, to believe, to dream, to run. So it's a part of speech that includes usually the word to and um, and some type of verb.
All right, I had to ask that, and I've written 16 books, and I don't know what infinitive is. How is that possible?
No, well, because it doesn't matter. If you're using it, you are. And it's not something that we would really need to look for even unless we're translating to a different language. And so that's why there are words like dangling modifiers are really fun. And we can use those words when it's appropriate at the time and age when kids can understand it or any literacy learning learner can understand it so that it shifts our writing to be what it actually means.
You must tell me
Um,
what a dangling modifier is. I'm sorry.
okay, I can do that. A dangling modifier is when there's a phrase um, in front of a word that it doesn't describe. So let me think of one. Um, Taped to the wall, Andy read the schedule for that day.
Hmm.
So that is a dangling modifier because it's saying taped to the wall, Andy. So it's describing Andy as taped to the wall.
Are they good things or bad things?
They are,
Neither.
Well, they're funny.
I like funny.
But yeah, but they're not expressing the true meaning of it. So what should be stuck to the wall is the schedule that
Ah,
Andy is reading. Not
you,
Andy. Andy is not stuck to the wall.
thank you. You mentioned young students. Okay, so emergent beginning,
Yes.
first grade, kindergarten, second grade. How should we address grammar?
Oh goodness, I love this. Um, First of all, it's important for us, especially in K1, to know about the emerging stages of writing. And it usually starts with zigzags and swirls on the page, and writing is more oral comprehension, moving all the way through, being able to expand sentences. And when we know where students are in those emerging stages, we can then intentionally teach grammar concepts that are just a little bit of a push
Yep,
into,
scaffolded, just a little bit
yep,
above them. Yep,
yep, exactly. So, for example, if we are pre-alphabetic principal, then we might be teaching shapes to communicate or concepts of print, directionality, so on. Once we have the alphabetic principle or are starting to and have a couple of sight words, we can start to write our very own sentences, but using dominant sounds. So that is all grammar instruction.
so this would be preschool, kindergarten, using
And first,
temporary spelling.
hmm
Okay,
yeah.
love it. And we call it temporary spelling versus invented so that people won't freak
Ah,
out.
I like that.
Invented spelling, you're teaching children that they can spell any way they want.
Right. Oh my gosh, I didn't, never thought of that. May I use that?
Yeah, I wish I came up with it, but I didn't.
Yeah,
Temporary spelling. Yeah, because
I like it.
people have, well, do you want to talk about the importance of temporary spelling? I know that's a little off task.
Sure. Well, I mean, we know that temporary spelling um, is the key to becoming stronger readers and writers in the future.
It holds the
That,
idea, yes.
mhm. And it allows the idea to be on the page.
Mhm.
I remember when my 25-year-old was in kindergarten and he could read really well. And when he would write, he'd become entirely frustrated because it didn't look like the books. Um, and he didn't yet have the skills that matched what his reading was. And so having a simple conversation with the student saying, this is how kindergartners write, this is temporary spelling, just breaks through the frustration and allows for more writing to happen.
Yes. All right. Say we're up in first grade and second grade now.
Mhm.
What are some good grammar ideas for first and second grade teachers?
Well, for first grade, I still like the approach of looking at emerging writers
Mhm.
because in first grade, we still have in many, many classrooms, still some coming with the scribbles and zigzags that when they go back to their writing, they don't quite remember what it was, sitting next to somebody who can write in paragraphs. And so I still like to have uh, students in small groups, perhaps, with a series of supports to help them continue to grow from wherever they are.
The
When
conversation that takes place.
usually with a teacher
Mhm.
and the small group. By second grade, in most cases, we've had enough exposure to the English language, especially um, native English speakers, that we can do things that are more whole class, but in partnerships. I personally have found that the traditional approach to grammar instruction of identification and memorization is not sufficient for most people to learn. And in fact, there's a small percentage of people who have learned grammar with that methodology. If we have more entry points for learning grammar, like time to get curious and hypothesize, test out those theories, seek feedback, hear from experts, reflect on what we're learning, these multiple entry points, and yes, memorization, these multiple entry points make grammar more useful
I
for
like the idea of
students.
entry points. Tell me
Mhm.
more about that. That's interesting.
Sure. So let me give a little context here. Back when I was a classroom teacher, about 30 years ago, I was really working on my literacy instruction. I found it to not be strong enough. And all areas over the years seem to really blossom and have a beautiful effect on student learning, aside from grammar. And it was because the only thing I was doing was worksheets where we would identify nouns, verbs, different parts of speech, and memorize a group of prepositions or something like that. That did not connect to
Yes,
writing.
yes.
It was entirely disconnected. And in fact, I think it was more of a waste of time than it was actually helping students to use grammar with intention.
I like
And
that.
so,
With
s-
intention.
mhm. So since then, I've been trying to think of ways that we learn things, like even outside of school, like when we are naturally putting ourselves in a state of like, I'm going to study this.
Hmm.
Like I love to study using a certain paint and wax system to refinish furniture. And when I do that, I don't just start painting or I don't identify a color and memorize it. I look for different techniques. I think about the things that I could possibly do. I experiment with it. I seek out experts for feedback and ideas. I do memorize certain techniques. And I also reflect on like, how did that go? What would I do differently? And so having those same types of entry points for grammar creates a vast amount of experiences for students to be able to learn grammar, especially over time.
I like your analogy between painting and writing, using colors on the palette. Did you do the painting behind you, I must ask?
No, I wish I did.
Okay. Uh, it sounds like say that you are in alignment with using children's natural inclination to teach or to learn grammar.
Yes. Yes. When we create opportunities for getting curious
I
and
like that.
for,
Opportunities for getting curious.
yes. And so let's imagine we're curious about the differences between a simple and a compound sentence. We create theories with partners. A lot of this is out loud. Um, and then we hear from an expert on, well, here's how you can use simple sentences to make compound sentences. And then they have a chance to play with that using some grammar manipulatives and record some of their learning in their grammar notebooks. And the teacher acts as somebody who, instead of being a corrector, although that happens sometimes,
Yep.
we can be a challenger. All right, so you've created a compound sentence, but actually it's missing one thing. See if you can find that. And that type of experience with those different entry points creates grammar learning over time. Traditionally, grammar has been, I taught it to you,
Hmm.
you need to use it the
Hmm.
next day. It's like one of the only subject areas where when I teach it to you or you've done a worksheet on it, the expectation is immediate usage. But with grammar study, all of those different entry points creates opportunity to accumulate grammar know-how over time and base that on their curiosities.
I absolutely love that idea, opportunities for being curious.
Mhm.
And that could relate to grammar, but all of education.
Mhm.
how do we create opportunities to get students curious?
Mm.
And I also like the idea of play, which again is children's natural inclination. This is good stuff, Patty.
Yes,
So I don't want to put people in boxes, but this is good stuff. It doesn't matter if you're using structured literacy or balanced literacy or whole language. This is good stuff that is found in any type of instruction that you're using.
absolutely. It really is. And it just was wholly absent from grammar instruction, and it no longer has to be.
What would be interesting? Do you want to talk about grammar instruction maybe as you get older, say third, fourth, fifth grade?
Mhm.
Can you have opportunities for play or getting curious?
Yes. Yes. In every grade level, absolutely. And my favorite place to start in any grade level is a study of sentences, specifically simple, compound, and complex sentences. And if they've had a strong foundation by seventh grade, adding in compound, complex sentences into that study. Because sentences are the building blocks
Hmm.
of writing
Yes.
and the containers of all parts of speech. And what research has shown is that when we construct, combine, or expand sentences,
Yes.
that's the most effective grammar instruction and practice that we can have.
In reviewing research on grammar, I found sentence combining is one of the most powerful forms.
Mhm.
And also, like you said, most grammar instruction takes place at the sentence level.
Mhm.
So, do you have tricks for making the sentences more student-centered or
Mhm.
that they actually want to read and examine?
Yes. So let's say it's a getting curious day,
Yep,
and
I love
we're
that term.
talking,
I'm going to
and we're
steal that one from you if you don't mind.
okay, yeah, absolutely. Um, and I've already created and identified a collection of simple sentences and compound sentences.
Mhm.
And one of the little tricks that I like to use are leaving clues in each type. So, for example, my list of simple sentences might be I am a simple sentence. I am also a simple sentence. Simple sentences can be long, can be short or long, and often full of commas. Like, so that would still be a simple sentence, where a compound sentence list might be I need simple sentences. No, I need simple sentences to make compound sentences, comma, and two, I'm just trying to make some up in my head right now, but
I know this is
let
tough.
me, yeah, let me try that again. Um, use one simple sentence, comma, and another simple sentence to create a compound sentence. And that is a
Interesting.
compound sentence. And that would be under the list there. So that kind of like writing, asking kids to theorize what the differences are, but then leaving clues in the sentences is something that kids really like. It's like an extra boost of curiosity juice.
Curiosity juice. I like that. All right. So I've got a class of preschool, a pre-service teacher.
Mhm.
What should I say to them about teaching grammar? What tips might you have?
Yes. Well, I think probably one of the most important things is to have the pre-service teachers experience multiple entry points of grammar and go through, say, one cycle of let's get curious. Now let me teach you something explicitly. Now play with this. And now let's reflect and think about what we know already, what we're sure of, and what we're still curious about. Number one, there's a very good chance that pre-service teachers never had that opportunity
Yes,
with grammar.
absolutely.
And most teachers which has come from some of my own like informal research, are not comfortable with grammatical concepts.
Yes.
And it's because the traditional approach doesn't really work for everybody. It works for some people, like, and those are our grammarians, and I appreciate our grammarians because they're like the giver and the giver, like holding all the memories of grammar for Jonas and us. Um, but it's really important to acknowledge that not everyone learns that way. So
Yes.
we have a lot of current teachers, longtime teachers who feel shame around the fact that they don't know grammar well. And then that just becomes a snowball and the grammar isn't taught. And so let's catch them young in that pre-service age and give them the experience of studying grammar in a way that has multiple entry points.
I read a study years ago that said there's a stronger correlation between grammar knowledge and math than
Hmm.
grammar knowledge than effective writing.
Hmm.
And the author went on to say if grammar was so important, it is, but
Hmm.
all our best-selling authors would be grammarians.
Yes. Well, I just also believe that there's multiple types of grammar.
Mhm,
There's standard grammar, which is the
mhm.
type of grammar we need to teach in school. That's what the standards are telling us. There's book grammar because authors don't always follow the standards
I like that.
because
Yes.
it's artful writing. It's using grammar as a paintbrush. And then there's spoken grammar, and that changes from community to community. There's no superior grammar in those buckets, but they all influence each other. And so grammar evolving over time often starts at the spoken level, influencing the book bucket of grammar, and then that influences the standards.
I love how you made that distinction. And there's no superior form. There's a time and a place. Dominant academic language, I think, is the
Mhm.
term.
Mhm.
And there's a time and place.
Yes.
But if that should not, as you say, diminish the grammar used in everyday speaking and creative writing.
Yes.
Creative writing
Absolutely.
sometimes deliberately breaks grammar rules.
Yes. 100%. And it really all depends on audience. Just remember who your audience is and the type of writing you're doing. We most want to appeal to that particular audience.
So if someone is coming from a non-dominant culture,
Hmm.
they have to do code switching if they're trying to write and speak in this strange way. Do you
Hmm.
have any advice for that? The teacher who's working, we forget they are code switching for that's another level of cognitive difficulty for them.
It sure is. Well, number one, I think the best thing we can do is give the time and space for that code switching to happen.
Hmm.
We are very good at jumping in during moments of silence, especially one-on-one and in small groups.
Yep.
And that, I don't know if that's like because that's what we do socially when we're out in the world. If there's awkward silence, we fill it. But if there are students who are learning English or learning more standard grammar from a different spoken grammar at home,
Hmm.
we just need to give them some think time.
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times, like, I just want to be helpful. So I'm going to jump in and
Yes.
tell you and
And that
not just give you the
disrupts.
time to go through the channels you need to go through.
I love it. That disrupts their thinking.
Mhm.
And it says, we don't value your way of speaking.
Mhm. Or we don't trust that you have the ability to figure this out yourself.
Okay. And in the writing process, there's a time and a place to attend to grammar. Do you want to
Mhm.
talk about that in terms of the five-step writing process?
Yes. Well, first, I'd like to say that I believe in teaching grammar not in isolation,
Yes.
but still giving it its own pocket of time,
Hmm.
10 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week,
Yes.
for as long as a study takes.
Yes.
And then what we studied comes into the writing process during editing.
Yes.
And then in the next piece that we're writing, study number one comes in during revising. Grammar study number two comes in during editing. And then as we go to, say, writing piece number three, we're using what we learned from grammar study number one in our drafting, and grammar study number two in revising, and grammar study number three in editing. So it's finding grammar in pretty much all of the places in the process aside from generating ideas. Um, and therefore, lots and lots of practice of the grammatical skills.
Cool.
Mhm.
I love it. Anything you want to say to in-service teachers who are struggling with this and they've got these standards they've got to meet or defined curriculum that they must follow with fidelity?
Yes. Yes. I worry about the curriculum that must be followed with fidelity, especially for grammar. There seems to be very little wiggle room in there. But if we can wiggle some room in there for some grammar play, using some grammar manipulatives, like for example, one of my favorites is taking a sentence that we love, it's just beautiful, lengthy, artistic, whatever it might be, blowing that up in large font onto a piece of paper, printing it out, and cutting out each word and each punctuation separately, and then creating as many sentences as we can from that sentence. It's simple, it doesn't take very long. Kids and adults love it,
Yes.
and it gives at least a little bit of authentic play
Yes.
with grammar. So it's still grammar and context when you think about
Yes.
it,
Yes.
because we're using it, but it's not immediate application that we're expecting.
And that could be done with preschool to graduate school.
Yeah.
And at the same time, that is developing metacognition for reading. Does the sentence make sense?
Mhm.
Do you want to talk about the connection or the impact to reading?
Absolutely. When we look at, there's a lot of different models out there. I think, and you might disagree, I'd love to hear. The two most influential models at the moment are Scarborough's Rope and the Active View of Reading from Duke and Cartwright. And in both of them, syntax is a necessity, is a thread, is an identified area that readers need to be able to use in order to understand what they're reading. And so if students are learning grammatical concepts that reflect the syntax that they will be experiencing in their reading, they have the opportunity then to construct knowledge, construct understanding of the sentence because they know how to build it. It's already familiar.
And I love what you said. Even the most structured view of reading, the simple view of reading, the Scarborough's Rope, even the International Dyslexia Association stress the importance of syntax and semantics to
Mhm.
help construct meaning.
Yes.
And when we recognize words, meaning you're reading and you automatically know what the word is, yes, we
Mhm.
use letter clues, but we use syntax, grammar clues, as well as context.
Mhm.
That's what the three cueing systems is. It's
Yeah.
not something you teach. It's something that, I'm sorry, this is your time, but grammar is essential in helping them recognize words and understand and create meaning.
Yes.
And it need not be done in isolation, as you said.
Mhm. Exactly. It can also be done in content areas,
Yes,
which I love manipulatives in content areas.
yes,
So, for example, In a seventh grade social studies class, they were about to start studying ancient China. So, what we created was a sort, but the sort was content specific to
Yes.
ancient China. And we put in that sort phrases
Mhm.
and clauses, but all around the content of ancient China.
Yes.
And then kids cut them out, worked in partnerships, and we asked them first to create their own categories, just
Yes.
looking at the words on each card. And like one of them I remember was, okay, my categories are good, bad, mid. And I just thought that was hysterical. Um, and then we give them categories.
Yes.
So, can you now categorize these into phrases and clauses? And of course, a little review of phrases and clauses. And then students are doing that and they're looking at the nouns very closely, the verbs very closely, seeing how they relate while also learning the content of ancient China because they're reading these over and over and over again, comparing them. And then, even say two groups of students get together with their categories and decide and like compare and deliberate over any that they don't agree upon. So it's just tons of content learning based on using grammar
And
in a
when she
sort.
says sort,
Mhm,
you're meaning word sort, meaning a
mhm,
series of words, and they can sort them in categories related to
mhm,
grammar,
mhm,
related to letter patterns,
mhm.
or related to content and meaning.
Yes.
So you're focusing on vocabulary as well as
Mhm,
letter patterns as well as grammar.
yes.
And the joy of being an elementary teacher is these curriculum areas, they merge eventually.
Mhm,
So you're teaching everything with everything.
mhm.
That inductive analysis is what it is. It's a powerful form of learning.
Yes.
Sometimes you give them the categories, but sometimes the categories emerge from the data.
Mhm,
That is a form of discovery learning, which is very powerful.
yes.
I love it. I love it. Well, Patty, do you have a book or something you want to plug here? Because I absolutely love what you got going here. Go
Thank
ahead,
you.
plug away.
Okay. Well, first, what I just spoke about using grammar manipulatives in the content area,
Yes.
if you go to my website, pattymcgee.org, there's a free download to get three different samples and templates where you can create them for whatever content you're teaching.
Okay.
And then if you're really into grammar study,
Yep.
I have my book, Not Your Granny's Grammar, An Innovative Approach to Meaningful and Engaging Grammar Instruction. I co-authored with my friend and grammar guru, Tim Donahue.
A grammar guru. We all need one of those.
That's for sure.
Well, I absolutely love what you have to say, Patty. It sounds like a very naturalistic way to align learning with children's natural inclination. And that's what makes teaching powerful.
Mhm.
It's an intellectual endeavor. Well, Patty, thank you so much for being my guest. And I want to have a conversation, more conversations about grammar.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. This has
Truly
been the
appreciate
reading.
it.
This has been the reading instruction show.